Yo, what's good, guys? Another video here. Today, we got, to my memory, judging by the fact I'm not subscribed to him, and normally I subscribe to people I react to, Not Just Bikes. This has been a channel people have recommended for me to watch for a while, and I don't know what videos you'd like me to watch, so leave some recommendations down below. But, hey, let's watch this. And I was just barely scrolled down and I saw this top comment and it had me laughing my ass off. It said, if you are upset by my tone in this video, then I have great news for you. There are over 500 hours of video uploaded to YouTube every minute. So go watch something else. And it made me laugh my ass off. So, you know what? Just for that, I
make
like
videos about walkable cities and urban mobility. I mostly talk about great cities in Europe, so as you'd expect, I get a lot of excuses and cope, especially from North Americans.
Okay.
Now, I'm not particular.
I find this interesting since I haven't watched his videos. Like, I feel like this is gonna he's gonna call out excuses I may have made before though on other videos, and you know I'm just gonna give my honest opinion to his thoughts here.
Particularly interested in making debunking videos. I'd rather show you examples of great cities and let my experiences speak for themselves.
That's
but there's
the best
one
way to
lame
do it.
excuse that is so common, so prevalent, so ubiquitous that I want to talk about it. And that's the excuse that my country is too big to have trains, bicycle infrastructure, walkable neighborhoods, or whatever. This is an excellent and well thought out explanation as to why North American cities are so terrible. Well, that is, until you think about it for more than about 12 seconds. Most people are ignorant about urban planning and urban mobility. I certainly was until about a decade ago, and that's understandable.
I still am. Like, hell, I feel like part of that comes from, and I've noticed people get annoyed at me when I've mentioned yeah, I'm picking the place with the big house and the big yard. But I feel like what people don't understand is, as a person, I'm not somebody who would want to live in Chicago or fucking London if we're going outside the US, or Sydney or any big city. Like, hell, if it was up to me, I'd live in the middle of fucking nowhere on a shit ton of property and not deal with people. And when I want to deal with people, I'll make a fun trip to the cities and have my fun and enjoy them, but not live there. If that makes sense.
I mean, why?
So I'm always going to favor more space because that's just how I am as a person.
Why would you know about these things, right? But Americans are uniquely ignorant because American cities are very poorly designed, and their insular culture and limited international travel opportunities means that most Americans have never even seen a well-designed city. Though, to be fair, Canadians and Australians aren't very far behind. So when someone new to walkable cities sees an example of a great city and they realize it's clearly better than where they live, their first gut reaction is to grab any difference between the two and make that the reason as to why their city can't be the same. Sometimes it's the weather, Canadians love that one. Sometimes it's culture. Sometimes it's population. Sometimes it's a misunderstanding of history. But usually it's, that European country is small, my country is big, this video is stupid, and you're an idiot.
Guy with sunglasses in a truck. That's funny.
Or something along those lines. My personal favorite, though, is the Wikipedia contrarian. That guy who looks up the size of the Netherlands on Google or Wikipedia, and then pastes that number into their comment like it's some kind of epic own. And I can tell which source they use because Wikipedia and Google have different numbers. In case you're curious, here's how big the Netherlands is compared to the United States, Canada, and Australia. So why is this...
Damn, y'all tiny! Damn! We got states bigger. I didn't realize y'all could, fit inside Texas.
Argument so stupid? Well, quite simply, Americans aren't traveling from Fluffy Landing to Hump Tulips every day. Canadians aren't traveling from Dildo to Spuzum every day.
What a name.
And Australians aren't traveling from Chinaman's Knob to Useless Loop every day.
Chinaman's. Oh my fucking. Nah, this dude's a fucking legend.
And also, why are there two places in Australia?
I wanna say though is just because I'm laughing doesn't mean I'm missing what he's saying. It's just I can respect that he's making his point in a humorous way.
Called Chinaman's Knob. All right,
Wait,
you know
that's
what?
real?
I am done talking about Australia.
Is that real?
People do
I
not
thought that was a
travel
joke.
across their country on a regular basis. They travel within their city. So the only thing that really matters to most people is the design of that city,
That's a good
which
point.
is what we're talking about here.
That is a good point.
For example, in the United States, over 45% of trips, all trips, are 3 miles or less. That's 5 kilometers for the rest of my audience. These are distances that could be easily done by walking or cycling. So, despite the
Nah, you forgetting how fucking fattened up we are. God damn it. Listen. I'm the rare fat guy, right? Like I walk around, well, not anymore, but like my old tiny ass little redneck town, I used to walk around the whole town with my buddies and it was all good. But like, you know how many fat motherfuckers we have? Or not even fat people, just lazy motherfuckers we have that refuse. Like, no, that's the issue with that logic, and that's not necessarily an excuse. It's just the truth. It's a bad excuse, but it's kind of how it is.
size of the country and the sprawliness of the cities, Americans don't actually travel.
Nah, like let me tell y'all a story, right? So a friend of mine, I'm not gonna say names because I'm protecting people's identities in that. But a friend of mine, we could literally see the damn store we were trying to go to, and my friend's trying to jump in the car. Like, literally, I was like, I am not getting in the car to walk down the street. Like, I refuse. No. But that's how lazy people can be. Again, not saying names because protecting identities, but certain people watching this might know who I'm talking about.
Travel that far for most trips. But unsurprisingly, almost all of those trips are taken by car because it's too dangerous to walk or cycle and public transportation is non-existent, which again is the whole point. This may come as a surprise to some people because Americans are obsessed with commuting, and the average commute length in the US is about 20 miles. That's 32 kilometers for everyone else. But there are many more trips that people take on a daily basis that are not commuting. Even here in the Netherlands, there are many places, especially smaller towns and villages, where people commute to work by car, but do all of their other trips, such as grocery shopping, visiting friends, or going to appointments by walking, cycling, or public transit. They have those options available to them for shorter trips, which again is the point.
Okay, also, let me say this. Now, this guy sounds like he's from the US and he knows all about cities, so I feel like he knows this. So this might not as much be a message to him as much as a message to you guys. It's not like you can't travel on bikes here. Like, not too long ago, I traveled on my bike 6 miles to go and get brakes repaired, which we're not going to talk about how much of a genius I am riding a e-bike with no brakes across town, but like, it's doable. So it's not that it's not doable. Now, your guys' bike paths from what I've seen are a lot more nice than ours, and it's a lot more convenient, but it's definitely not impossible for people to do it here. We just tend to choose not to.
Problem is not cars, it's car dependency. We need to give people the freedom to not to have to drive. Though regardless, 32 kilometers is still a perfectly reasonable distance to commute by train if those trains existed. And now, this is where Americans will claim that America is too big for trains, which is absolutely comical because America was literally built by the railroads, and so was Canada.
Also, like, I watched this one thing and it was kind of pointing out how technically trains would be easier than cars, like on a technical level as far as amount of people and distance. because it's harder to like have space for everybody's car than it would be for a train.
For that matter.
So,
In the 1800s, a railroad company would buy up all the land west of wherever they were, build a railroad and a bunch of stations, and then sell the land near those stations, made valuable by the rail line, to recoup their investment.
smart.
Nearly every town, city, and village in the United States and Canada had a train station and was connected by rail, with very few exceptions. And almost every city and town had a streetcar line too, with very few exceptions. And every one of those places was built to be walkable, as every one of those places was built before automobiles were common, again, with very few exceptions. 100 years ago, you could get a train from almost any city to just about any other city on the continent, and even many towns and villages too. The reason those train stations don't exist anymore is because they were bulldozed, often to make room for highways, along with the walkable downtowns they were connected to. American cities were not built for the car, they were bulldozed for the car. But even if North America wasn't built on trains, and to be clear, it was, the size of the country would still be irrelevant because most intercity travel is still regional. There are dozens of city pairs in the US that are the perfect population and distance for high-speed rail or high-frequency rail, and City Nerd has made a video about this if you'd like more details. As for Canada,
should I watch this man's video, Mr. City Nerd? Let me know in the comments.
it may be a huge country, but about 50% of the entire population lives in this little area, which is literally in a line.
What?
And this is Japan to scale. The
Hey, yo, rewind.
country, but about 50% of the entire population lives.
That's wild. I knew. All right, now listen. I wasn't completely oblivious to like most Canadians living more near the U.S. border because like it gets cold as hell out there. But like, well, I don't even know if that's the reason. What is the actual reason? I always figured it's just because it gets cold as fuck, but I don't even know. I didn't know it was just 50% just in that little. That's wild.
Lives in this little area, which is literally in a line. And this is Japan to scale, the country famous for all its trains. So yes, Canada, you can build a high-speed train between Toronto and Montreal. And by the way, here's China with its high-speed rail map.
See, the real excuse, me personally, I could really think of to not do it would probably be the financial of like how much it would cost to build and all that. That's probably the only excuse I could see right now, which if this man's smart, he's gonna like see this coming. He's gonna be like, there's gonna be some orange shirt wearing reactor wannabe YouTuber who's gonna say it's too expensive and I'm gonna get him. So watch, he's gonna get me.
I always laugh when some ignorant commenter tells me, you obviously have no idea how big the US is, but actually yes, I know exactly how big it is. Because I've driven across the continent 8 times. I know that you can travel long distances in America without encountering any borders, but did you know that you can do that in Europe too? This is the Schengen Zone, a group of European countries that allows visa-free travel. That means I can drive to any one of these places and never encounter a border at all. Yes, I know I can't drive to Iceland. But the Schengen Zone is not constant, and new countries are being added every few years. For example, Croatia was just added in 2023. And Bulgaria, Romania, Cyprus, and Montenegro plan to join in the near future. But if that happens, will Amsterdam need to tear up all their bike lanes because the Schengen Zone is too big? No, of course not. That would be stupid, which is the same reason why saying America is too big for bike lanes is also stupid. The fact is, it is possible to build walkable neighborhoods everywhere. They have existed in every country on Earth for thousands of years. And it is possible to connect those walkable places together by high-quality public transportation, to make it so that people can go from any walkable area to any other walkable area, regardless of the size of the city, the country, or the continent. That's how I can bike to the station in Amsterdam, get on a high-speed train to Berlin, transfer to the U-Bahn, and walk to my hotel. But even if size did matter, then Why isn't Maryland covered in bike lanes and train tracks, or Hawaii, or Prince Edward Island? Instead, pretty much everywhere in the
I'm not even gonna lie, I've never heard of Prince Edward Island. What is that place?
US and Canada looks exactly like this, regardless of where it
That's
is or
true.
what size it is.
Well,
So, why do American
yeah,
cities
that is true. He was like, regardless of what size it is, I'm like, that's where it's like, that's debatable because, trust me, there are some tiny ass towns that got no more than like 3 buildings. But, he's not wrong with like any actual legit sized town.
suck so much then? Well, there are lots of reasons, as I've talked about in many, many previous videos, but I think the most important one to talk about here is bad land use. US and Canadian cities waste land. They use huge amounts of land for single-family housing, surface parking lots, low-density developments, and excessively wide stroads. When you travel around any North American city, you'll see empty lots like this all over the place. There's no acknowledgement that good land is valuable, that it can be used for more efficient purposes. If the local strip mall goes out of business, it isn't turned into something more useful, it's just left there to rot.
See, that is something I agree with though. Like, you know, I see that a lot even in my hometown, like where it's like, you know, the old malls I used to go to as a young kid. I mean, a lot of them are still up because I ain't even that old, but like, you know, there's definitely a couple where like they've just sat there and it's just like nobody's gonna do anything with that. Like, that's crazy.
And a new big box store is built farther down the road.
That
This
is a
makes
good- that
everything
is a
too
good
spread out to walk and too inefficient for public transportation, and it's usually too dangerous to cycle because of all the cars. This is ultimately the root of a lot of the problems.
But I'm gonna be honest, the reason, at least in my opinion, right, the reason people don't cycle isn't because it's too dangerous, it's because we're lazy. Like, at least that's what I think, right, from a lot of the people I know, right? Like, I don't know a lot of people who are afraid to even just run across a busy road. Like, I really don't. Most of the people I hang out with are fucking idiots, to tell you the truth. Like, we're just all stupid, and when we're together, we're even more stupid. So it's just a bad mix of stupidity. But, I'll tell you this. The reason they're not riding their bikes everywhere isn't because, oh, it's dangerous. No, they don't give a shit about danger. It's because we're lazy. It's us as Americans are becoming a lazy people. We're a lot more focused on convenience of, hey, I can jump in my air-conditioned car, sit there, I can, you know, press down on a pedal a little bit, explore zero energy, probably be texting and then jamming out on the radio and doing some stupid shit you're not supposed to, and not worry about it. It's got nothing to do with danger.
Problems that I talk about on this channel. In particular, I made the video linked here in the top right about how this explains why public transportation is so bad in North America. Now, you could argue that a bigger country lets you be lazier with land use, but on the flip side, the Netherlands doesn't have good land use because it's small. It has good land use because there were policies and regulations put in place to use land efficiently in order to protect good quality arable farmland, which is
But see, that's where I kind of disagree, because why are those policies put in place? Most likely because it's a small country, so they thought ahead because of that, right? Whereas the US, what's the reason we don't have those in place? Because we're a big country, so it's not something that we worried about preserving the farmland. Now, that's not so to say that we shouldn't have those in place, or that's not a good idea to have in place, but it's certainly part of, I guarantee you, if the US was the size of the Netherlands, we probably would have had much smarter land use because we wouldn't have as much land to spare. So that's the first thing he said where I kind of disagree. Just that little bit there.
one of the reasons why the Netherlands is the world's second largest exporter of agricultural products by value. This wasn't an inevitability, and there are lots and lots of smaller countries in the world that don't do this right.
Also, he is right there too. Like, just because it's a small country don't mean it's guaranteed to, so I guess I'll have to retract what I said before, because he makes a good point there. But, like, still, it's more likely for a smaller country to think about these things before they go and do them. Like, if you have a bigger country, you're less likely, in my opinion, to foresee these issues than... You know, like if you got a tiny ass little island community, more than likely you're gonna be smart on, hey, I'm gonna put this in the best possible spot, put this here. Whereas if you have unlimited space, damn near, it feels like out here, like, yeah, you're not gonna care as much. Like, yeah, just put that there, it's fine.
The United States destroys over 750,000 acres of natural and agricultural lands every year to build sprawling suburbs. And Ontario, Canada, where I'm from, destroys 175 acres of farmland per day to build more...
Okay, so he's from Canada. I think I said earlier he sounded American. He's from Canada.
Car dependent.
I'm gonna get some, like, comment being like, he's Canadian, you asshole! Ah! Yeah. Oh, I figured it out. Relax. It's okay. I figured it out. Breathe.
Suburbia. That is a choice. So when Americans say something like, U.S. cities are too big and spread out to do whatever, then yes, that's true. But that is literally the problem that urbanists are trying to solve. So it's not really helpful to restate the problem and then use that as the excuse as to why it can't be solved. Though, I admit, actually fixing American and Canadian cities after they were destroyed by car infrastructure and then rebuilt to be car dependent is a very daunting task, and I'm personally not even convinced it can be done in the foreseeable future, which is a big part of the reason why we left North America for a better city in the Netherlands in the first place. Because ultimately, the Dutch make great places while North Americans make excuses.
I mean,
but there's no excuse.
That's a fair argument, man. I'm gonna have to skip your sponsorship though, brother. Like, respectfully, I'm gonna have to skip this. Here's his code: go nebula.tv/notjustbikes. Check your boy out. Make this man some money. But hey, subscribe, ring the bell. Let me know. Would you guys like me to watch more things from this channel? If so, what do you want me to watch? What do you not want me to watch? Tell me things. I want to know. If you made it to the end, comment empty water bottle. Bye.